Hello and welcome to jobskillshare.org. In this second chapter, we are going to release the lecture video, which is 30 minutes long, and the second half is going to be the VPC lab. Now, if you are a member, make sure that if you want to do this lab hands-on and you're a premium member in JSS, then simply go to My Courses, click on AWS Practitioner course, and then log into the course, and then you can get to the second chapter. And here's the lab for you. If you have premium membership and active membership, you can launch the lab and you can perform same steps just like instructor, because he is using the same lab. If you're watching this on different platform and you don't have access to the labs, then make sure to use your free access or paid access from AWS, and you can still follow along. If you're watching this video, you just need to log into your account, and then you can perform the same step as how instructor is doing it.
Hello and welcome to AWS Cloud Practitioner lecture number 2, which is AWS regions, availability zones, and VPC. So let's head over to the next slide, which is talking about the course contents that I'm going to cover today, which are like AWS regions and availability zone, examples of regions and AZs region and global services, and how to choose regions and services, VPC virtual private cloud, VPC and common creation flow, routing table and internet gateways, subnets, which is public versus private, then IP addressing, routing and gateway in local area network, and then IP addressing routing. This is going to be basically the comparison between local area network and AWS. Then VPC versus LAN one-to-one comparison, VPC flavors, lab time, and then I'm going to talk about the topology. So what are the AWS regional and availability zone? These we have already covered in our first session, but just for a sake of revision, I'm going to tell you here. So as the definition, AWS regions are separate geographical areas that is used by AWS. These are distributed around the world so that the customers can choose a region closest to them in order to host their cloud infrastructure there. The closer your region is to you, the better, so that you can reduce network latency as much as possible for your end user. So you want to be near the data center for fast services. So basically, for example, in case as we know that if I can draw a globe here, so I assume this is your world, okay, the world that we are living in basically, and then if I select the right brush, okay, and make size a little bit bigger. Okay, so this is our world, okay, and we know that we have multiple regions, okay. Let's say this is like western region, we have west, then we have this Asia Pacific. Okay, I'm just going to give you two region examples. So in our world, we know that in my case, I live where I live in Asia, Pakistan. So let's say Pakistan is somewhere here. So this is Pakistan. If I have to deploy some services like Windows Server, Linux Server, or any kind of machine, what do you think, or what do you suggest? I should be somewhere here in Western region somewhere, and then I will deploy my services over here? No, this is not a valid solution. So it means I must have my resources in Asia Pacific. So what AWS did, AWS created multiple regions and then multiple availability zone in those regions. So currently I live in Asia, so it is better for me to choose the region that is very near to me. Unfortunately, AWS does not exist, or AWS data center does not exist in Pakistan. So what I need to do, I need to check whether which data center or region is near to me where AWS has deployed their data center. So basically, near to me are two regions. Like in Asia, we have Bahrain and then India as well. So it is totally up to me in which region I'm going to deploy my resources. So this is better for me to deploy my resources which is near to me. Okay, but let's suppose in future my business grow, and I have also many clients from west as well. So what I will do, instead of physically I will take my devices to the west region, what I will do, from AWS I will buy or I will just create my AWS resources in western region somewhere here as well. Okay, because the clients are from western region, so they will all be hitting to this western region instead of going all the way from west to my Asia region and then to the servers. So this is better, this is a better approach. If my users are sitting in Asia Pacific, they are hitting directly to my Asia servers, and the clients that are sitting in the western region, they are directly hitting to the western regions servers. Okay, so this is the whole idea behind AWS regions and availability zone. Okay, so as you can see here, they have given US East, Ohio, US East 2, US West, California, US West 1, US West 2 in Oregon. Okay, so these are all what called AWS regions. Okay, then inside regions we have multiple availability zones. So what are those? Availability zones are isolated data center located within specific regions in which public cloud services originate and separate. Cloud computing business typically have multiple worldwide availability zones. Availability zone is just like a data center in that region. So if I will take you to the next slide. For example, this is going to be the example AWS region and availability zone, and let's say this is going to be my region, and region has some identification, as you can see, AP Southeast 2. Okay, so this is going to be the ID. Okay, so this is going to be my first availability zone, and as you can see, this is represented with AP Southeast 2A. Okay, so in case if I'm going to have another availability zone, it is going to represent like AP Southeast 2B. Okay, this is 2A, this is 2B, and this is 2C. So these are totally different data centers available in that specific region, which is AP Southeast 2, belong to which Sydney. Basically, this is the name of the country. Okay, Asia Pacific, Sydney, the city name basically. Okay, so inside Sydney we have AP Southeast 2, and Southeast 2 have 3 availability zone. And by the way, every region has their different set of availability zones. So it is not particular like 3 here. Okay, like in Sydney case we have 3, but maybe in California, or as you can see here in North Virginia we have 6 availability zones, and similarly in Tokyo we have 4. Okay, and most of them are having 3 availability zones. So availability zones are different in different regions. Okay, so what is the benefit of having these zones? So basically these are one separate data center. Okay, and similarly this one is different data center, DC number 2, and this is different data center, which is DC number 3. Okay, so we have multiple data centers, and we know that if we have multiple data centers, what uh, will be the beneficial part for us? In case if one availability zone or one data center is down, we still have the reachability to the other 2 availability zone. So as you can see, 2A is connected with 2B, then 2A is connected with also 2C, then 2B is also connected with the 2C. So we have a fully redundant scenario over here. Okay, let's suppose if our deployment or servers are exist on 2A and I haven't replicated on 2B, 2C. In case if this data center is totally down, I'm totally lost with my services. So the best option is always replicate your instances or the databases or whatever might it be to all data center. So in case if this is down, we still have availability. Okay, so AZ regional and global specific services. So if you are already with the familiar with the AWS services, then this is good enough. Otherwise, we are going to cover these services in detail in our subsequent session. So for example, EC2 instance, it is nothing but just creating the instance of virtual machines like Linux or Windows machine, Ubuntu, or these kind of Mac or Macintosh, something like that. Okay, so these services, some services are unique to availability zones, some services are specific to regional services, regional zones, and some are to the global. For example, if I will give you the example of availability zone, what services are specific to AZs, like creating EC2 instance, creating EBS volumes, database instances, Redshift nodes, subnet, elastic files, and system files. So these kind of things are unique to AZ. Okay, these cannot be deployed in a regional. So what are the things that only available in a regional services, regional session, like S3 buckets? And S3 bucket, we are going to have a one dedicated session. Okay, so don't worry about that. Then AMI services, snapshot, EBS, this is also we are going to create. Then DynamoDB, VPCs, in this session I'm going to create the VPC as well. Then Elastic IP, CloudWatch. So these kind of services are specific to the regional, okay, basis. And what are specific to the global? For example, IAM, this has to do with, like, for example, creating like users group. Okay, so these are global services. Then group and roles, policies, route 53, this is nothing but the DNS services. If you're familiar what 53 protocol number is assigned to, this is assigned to the DNS. So this is route 53 is the DNS services. Then CloudFront and distribution, that is specific for this global services. Okay, how to choose region and services. Okay, in MS Paint I told you that if I have to deploy my services in Asia, then which region is very close to me. So this is a very good website. From here you are going to get a very good idea which basically the region is near to you. So I'm gonna take you to that website, and as you can see I am in CloudPing.info.com. So what you need to do, you just need to click HTTP ping, and as you can see my location is going to connect with all regions of AWS, which is eventually going to show you the latency. So as you can see, still it is connecting, to give it some time. Okay, it's done. Now which one is going to have the minimum latency? And as you can see, 36 millisecond. So where is it? It is located somewhere in the UAE, and then Bahrain as well. As you can see, 47 millisecond. Okay, after that so these are the different latency options, or the time is available. As you can see, Singapore is also very near to me. So if my boss will ask me to kindly deploy the services, what I'm gonna do, I will go to the CloudPing.info. I'll try to do HTTP ping, and we'll see which one is the lowest one to me, the Bahrain and the UAE, which is like I don't think so it is mentioned doing business with UAE support slavery, so it means we're not going to have much services on that one. So I'm going to prefer ME South Bahrain. Okay, so I will deploy all my services machines on Bahrain for a better output and latency. Okay, I hope you get the idea. So let's get back to the slide. Okay, so virtual private cloud. So what is VPC? A virtual private cloud is a secure, isolated private cloud hosted within a public cloud, which is what AWS. So VPC customers can run code, store data, host websites, and do anything else they could do in an ordinary private cloud. But the private cloud is hosted remotely by a public cloud provider. Public cloud provider could be like Amazon Web Services, could be Google GCP, Google Cloud, could be like Azure. Okay, so we are going to have one account and then we are going to create a one VPC. So VPC is nothing but just one virtual private cloud, but it should be inside the region, as you can see. Okay, so what else do we have? Okay, VPC is dedicated to your AWS account, logically isolated from other VPCs. So if we have one VPC, we could have another VPC in the same region as well, but that will be totally isolated. You can launch AWS resources VPC, for example EC2. So you can create EC2 instance inside the VPC, but inside the availability zone. As you can see, this is inside of VPC. We have availability zone 1 and availability zone 2. Inside availability zone we have this AP Southeast 2A and 2B, and then I can deploy, as you can see, my Linux or Windows server instances inside these availability zones. Then you can create the following in VPC. Okay, what else do we have? IP addressing range, subnets, route tables, gateways, and security settings, which we are going to cover a lot in detail in a subsequent lab. Okay, so let's head over to the next slide, which is talking about the VPC and common creation flow. So this has to do with when I'm doing lab, you will see what steps I will go through. From here, the snapshot, it's showing me that this is AWS cloud. Inside that we have one region. Let's suppose we selected AP Southeast 2. Inside we will have the VPC, which is I'm going to give one dedicated IP Cider Block basically. So what are the things that are available in VPC? VPC will be created in a region. Okay, then VPC will have a primary Cider Block, which is 10.0.0./16. It could be anything. Okay, it's up to you. Then VPC could have multiple availability zones. As you can see, we have this availability zone number 1, which is represented with data center 1 and data center 2. Then each AZ should have subnet range from the range of given Cider Block. So this data center 1 and data center 2 are going to adopt their IP address block from the same VPC main Cider Block. Okay, so you cannot have like 192.168, but it should be matched to your VPC Cider Block that we have provided. Okay, after that, AZ with multiple routing tables. So these availability zone will have their own routing tables, and then these routing tables have an internet gateway to reach internet. Okay, so in case if you want to reach to the internet, then these availability zones should have one internet gateway, which I'm gonna show you later. Okay, also then we can have security settings like network access control list, VPC peering, which is not I'm going to cover in this AWS Cloud Practitioner, because this is going to be a little advanced topic, which we can cover in advanced topic in advanced sessions. So VPC peering, but what is it? I'm gonna show you. Let's suppose this is VPC. Okay, one VPC. This is like one VPC, VPC A. Then when we have VPC B, as you can see, VPC A has the Cider block from 10.0.0/16 and another one 172.31.0.0/16. It has one instance and it has another instance. Okay, and their IP will be accordingly to the VPC. Then what if we want to make this instance communicate with this instance? We will use basically the term called VPC peering. Okay, so with the help of VPC peering, we will be able to make these two VPC communicate with each other. Okay, so keep it in mind. So let's head over to the next slide, which is talking about the routing table versus internet gateway. If you are from networking background, then this will be a piece of cake for you, because we know that in a routing table, in switches route sorry in a Cisco routing table, whenever we are going to link these interfaces up with the IP addresses, we are going to create routing table. And then in case if we want this router to communicate with the service provider, we will have a default gateway. So in case of this classic uh, classic routing, we have the internet gateway inside the routing table. But in case of AWS, we are going to create a internet gateway separately, okay, which will be connected with the destination target default gateway. So what is routing table? First, the route table contains existing routes with the targets other than a network interfaces. The route table contains existing routes to a cider blocks outside of the ranges in your VPC. Each subnet in your VPC must be associated with the routing table. The routing table controls the routing for the subnets. A subnet can only be associated with one RT at a time. So this is very important. So it means in the next slide I will show you, your VPC will automatically create one main RT. As you can see, this routing table will automatically be created. 10.0.0.0/16 is going to be your main routing or table or cider block, sorry, not routing table but main cider block. Then we have specific IP addresses or network addresses like 10.0.1.0 and 10.0.2.0, so they can locally communicate with each other. Okay, but what is internet gateway then? An internet gateway is a horizontally scaled, and we have already talked about, we have vertical scale and horizontal scale. So internet gateway is going to be your horizontal scaled technology. So it is redundant and highly available VPC component that allows communication between your VPC and the internet. So it supports IPv4 and IPv6 traffic. It is a virtual router. So this is not something like physical router. It is a virtual router that connects a VPC to internet. If you create a new internet gateway, then you have to connect it to your VPC first. So when we are going to create VPC in our lab, I will show you that I must have to attach internet gateway with the VPC, otherwise my internet gateway will not work. Okay, and I will do this lab as well. So what are the subnets that are being used in in VPC basically? So we have two kind of subnet, like public and private. If you are already from your networking background, then it will not be difficult to make you understand what is public and private. Public when we have to reach to the internet, and private when we want to locally route our traffic in between, thus like buildings or even some in the same building as well. So a subnet is a range of IP addresses in your VPC. You can launch AWS resources into a specified subnet. For example, deploying EC2 Windows server in that subnet, so it can get that IP address from that subnet. The allowed cider block, this is also very important. VPC is in between /16 to /28, which is bit notation. So whatever the subnet range we are going to provide, it should be between /16 to /28. So this is the restriction in AWS. So what is public subnet? If you want your instance in a public subnet to communicate with the internet over IPv4, it must have a public IPv4 or elastic IP. Elastic IP we are going to cover separately in a separate section with one lab as well, so don't worry about that one. uh, Private subnet, if the subnet does not have a route to the internet gateway, that is private subnet. Okay, so this is uh, to the point. Okay, so what let's suppose if we are going to create one private subnet which is 172.16.0.0. so what are the some of the addresses that are reserved by default? So let's say 172.16.0.0, and we know that this is represented as network address, and opposed to network address we have broadcast address, which is represented with 16.0.255. then we have 16.0.1, 0.2, 203. 0.1 is reserved for VPC router. Okay, 0.2 is reserved for the DNS server, and 0.3 is reserved for future use. So apart from these range like dot 4 to all the way dot 2454, we are going to use for our host or servers or these kind of devices. Okay, so IP addressing, routing and gateway in local area network. So I'm going to do one-to-one comparison LAN environment with the AWS environment. So get you familiar basically how VPC looks like. So VPC is nothing but it's a building basically with the VPC Cider Block 10.0.0/16. In that building, we know that we have multiple departments like marketing department, finance department. So this is like availability zones. Then this availability zone will have different IP address and gateway, and this one is going to have different gateway and IP addresses. Then this is somehow will be connected with some virtual switch, and which then will be connected with the router. Okay, so what is the use of router? We have already talked. In case if this router availability zone number one marketing department wants to communicate with finance department, we'll have a router. So as you can see 10.0.0/16 is going to be your Cider block, and then these belong to marketing department and finance department accordingly. And then we have service provider. So in our local area environment, we know that we do not have different internet gateway. Okay, we have router, and inside router we are going to deploy default gateway, which eventually take our marketing department, finance department users to the internet. But in case of AWS, in AWS we have regions. If I will take you back, as you can see, we have regions. Then inside region we have VPC Cider Block 10.0.0/16. Then we have two availability zone, and then availability zone will have IP address 10.0.1.0 with gateway 10.0.1.100, and it will be having a routing table for AC1, as you can see. Okay, then we have another availability zone with different routing tables. Okay, then in case if I want any of or both of these availability zone to communicate with internet, I'm going to deploy another virtual gateway, internet gateway. Okay, so this is going to be destined to 0.0.0/0, which is nothing but default gateway. So this is how our AWS topology will be look like. Similarly, this is I will go very quickly. So this is same concept like I was talking about earlier. Like LAN 1 sales department, LAN 2 is the accounts department. They are connected with the router. Router is connected with the internet. So similarly, we have multiple AZ inside VPC. This is a one VPC and multiple availability zones. We can do so many things like load balancing. Okay, and then we could also create the VPN gateway in case if they want to reach to the internet. One internet gateway will be attached, and then this is how we are going to pass our traffic all the way to the internet. So the logic is very same like a local area network. So VPC flavors, these are by the way templates default this is talking about when we are going to create the VPC. AWS has provided default template for us instead of creating going through the VPC, creating subnets, creating routing tables, blah blah blah, everything. We are going to use the templates in case if we want to. So what these templates are configured pre-configured with VPC with a single subnet. So we have one VPC. Inside it we have one public subnet, and we know that what public subnet is. So we have internet reachability as well. So this is how we can reach to the internet. We can reach to the S3 Dynamo DB services, and these all. Then we have another flavor which is VPC with a public and private subnet. So we could have scenario where we do not want our private subnet to reach to the internet, but we have public subnet that can reach to the internet. So in case public want to communicate with the private subnet, we have NAT, and we are already familiar what NAT is, network address translation. So this is how they will be able to communicate with each other. So we have this template available as well. Another one is VPC with public and private subnet and VPN access. Sometimes we have separate dedicated data center located somewhere. So let's say we want to reach to that data center with our private subnet. So what we can do, we can create a VPN. So this VPN will be connected with the private subnet, and this is how this will be reachable to the our data center. And similarly, this is a public subnet which will be available or can reach to the internet. So this is the VPC flavors available available in a default template. So let's have over the lab time. So this is the lab or the exercises we are going to cover. If you want to use a practice lab, you can use that one. Or in lab, by the way, I'm going to do my own lab with my own experience, or my own way, so you can follow that as well. So this is going to be your AWS Global Infrastructure Lab. So let's head over to the next slide, which is talking about the lab topology. So this is the very simple topology I'm going to create. I'm going to create one VPC with the name JSS VPC with having Cider Block 10.0.0/16, and this is going to be your EU West 1A with marketing availability zone, and another one is EU West 1V with finance availability zone with different network ID. And finance will have the different routing table, and marketing will have different marketing table. But let's say marketing, they always want to reach internet, so we are going to connect marketing availability zone with the internet gateway. So this is going to be our lab objective. So this is also I'm going to explain in a lab as well. So I'm going to end this session here, and I will see you in a lab. Hello and welcome to VPC Lab. In today's lab, we are intending to cover virtual private cloud implementation. So before we do start implementing the lab, let's go back to the topology that I created for you, and this is the one that we are intending to cover in this lab. So first, let's discuss about this topology very fast. So first of all, we are going to create this one main VPC with the name JSS VPC with having 10.0.0.0/16. This is going to be your main IP Cider block. Then inside VPC we are going to have two multiple zones. One is we are going to name it marketing AZ with IP address 10.0.1.0/24, and another one with the finance availability zone 10.0.2.0/24. And you need to be make sure that these IP addresses scheme should be extracted from the main VPC IP Cider block, which is 10 network. So in case if you are going to use like 192 or 172, this is not going to work. So keep it in mind. Another thing, marketing people or the computers that is having inside this availability zone should have internet access. So that is why we are going to attach internet gateway specifically to the marketing routing table. As you can see, financing routing table does not have internet gateway access, so it means the finance people cannot reach to the internet, whereas the marketing people, they can reach to the internet. Okay, so this is the use case, or this is the scenario that we are going to develop in our AWS practice lab. So let's get back to the practice lab. And by now you might be familiar with this left pane. What is it talking about? It is talking about the virtual private cloud and VPC IP address manager. So these kind of VPC address manager kind of technologies we are going to cover in a miscellaneous section, so don't worry about that. Today we are just focusing on VPC. So let's click on the next. Here is very simple topology, you might be familiar by now. So let's click on the next, and this is where it is talking about the VPC concept. and then it is going to give you or ask you to follow these steps so you can achieve your lab. So this is how you are going to complete your task. But I'm already familiar with the task, so that is why I'm going to do it by my own. If you want to follow me, uh, you are most welcome. So I'm going to minimize this screen. So here we are in Ireland region, by the way. As you can see, I'm in a Europe Ireland EU West 1 uh, region. And if I want to check how many zones does Ireland have, what I need to do, I need to go into the EC2, just click on EC2. Okay, so currently it is saying instance is running 0. It means there is no any kind of virtual compute services are going on like Linux or Windows Server. There's no any kind of devices currently installed or running. And other than that, just forget about these things for now, because we are going to cover these a lot in detail. And so just scroll down and you are going to have zones information. As you can see, this specifically Ireland EU West 1 region is going to have these zones like EU West 1A, EU West 1B, and EU West 1C. And as per our topology, if I can show you again, I'm going to create marketing availability zone in EU West 1A and finance in 1B. Okay, so this is a very flyby overview how you can take a look of your availability zones and regions. So we need to go into the VPC. So either you can come from here, because these are the recently visited technologies, or either you can go into the all services. Just click on that one. Actually it is not working. It is very slow. Just let me or click on this view all services. Sorry. Okay, so we are here, and you can under networking and content delivery, you will find the VPC from here as well. So click on the VPC. So we are currently on VPC dashboard. Okay, so it is going to give me the overview, the summary, how many VPCs do we have, how many NAT gates do we have, how many subnets or VPC peering, route tables, network access control list, security groups. So this is going to give you a detailed information how many services or region VPC subnets are running in your Ireland, this region. Okay, so currently as you can see VPCs, there are 0 VPCs. So we are going to create the one VPC as per our topology. So create VPC. From here I'm going to click VPC only. I'm going to name the VPC as per my topology, which is JSS VPC. So write JSS dash VPC. After that, we have to provide the IP Cider Block. So this one, as per our topology, 10.0.0.0/16. Okay. After that, the tenancy, it is either shared or default. We are going to use default tenancy. And from here, you can tag this VPC like name JSS VPC. Okay, this is very helpful. So it will just uniquely identify which is your VPC. So click on a create VPC. Okay, so my VPC has been created. As you can see, this is available with IP Cider Block 10.0.0/16. After that, the next step is we are going to create the subnets. Okay, so click on the subnets, and currently as you can see we do not have any kind of subnets available, so we are going to create as per our topology. So first thing first, we need to select the VPC that is going to be JSS VPC. After that we need to name the this subnet, the first subnet that I'm going to create for our marketing branch. So just a minute, let me write JSS subnet. In which availability zone? We said that we are going to create in a EU West 1A. And what is the Cider block I'm going to use? The Cider block is 10.0.1.0/24, and this is it. Okay, and click create subnet. So this one subnet has been created, but as per our topology, if I can show you, one has been created. Now we are going to create for the finance. So this is JSS subnet, just name it as per our topology marketing subnet. Okay, just to identify. After that we are going to create another subnet that is going to be under the same VPC that we created first, and then we have to create the name. Since this is for the finance department, I'm going to name accordingly finance subnet. In which availability zone? Let's make it in a 1B, because we decided to put finance uh, department into or subnet into 1B. So select 1B, and the Cider block is going to be 10.0.2.0/24, and the name tags just keep as it is, and click on a create subnets. If you do refresh, you are going to see we are going to have two subnets. One is finance subnet, another one is a marketing subnet. If I will select finance subnet, you can see the information about route tables, network access control list. We will talk about that later, but just as you can see, these are going to under JSS VPC that we created first, and then the Cider block is going to be 10.0.2.0 for our finance subnet, and for marketing we are going to have 10.0.1.0. After that we are going to create the routing tables for marketing and finance. As you can see, we have this by default uh, by default routing table. If you are not clear enough this routing table belongs to what, you can do delete. So just delete that one. And this route tables are main and cannot, so it means we cannot delete this routing table. So just to verify this belongs to which VPC, or so select this one and click on the routes. As you can see, the main Cider block, which is 10.0.0/16, is active. Okay, but what kind of subnets are associated with this routing table yet not be there? As you can see, there is no any kind of uh, association happened, because these are the total number of subnets that is visible to me, which is 10.1.0 and 10.0.2.0. So I have to attach this subnet with this routing table. So before I attach, what I need to do, just name this one for click on the name and name this one for marketing routing table. Okay, save this one. I have to create two routing tables as per my topology, one for marketing and one for finance. So for the marketing, it is already there. I didn't create. This is created by AWS automatically. For the finance, I'm going to create routing table right now. So finance RT, under which VPC? The JSS VPC. After that, tag is finance RT and create a route table. So as you can see, if I click on route table, we should have two routing tables as per our topology: marketing routing table and finance routing table. These subnets I have already created. Okay. Now what I need to do, I need to associate these subnets to this marketing routing table and this subnet to finance routing table accordingly. So come back, and as you can see, we have two routing tables, marketing and finance. So which subnet is associated with finance and which subnet is associated with marketing? Let's find out. So click on marketing RT, and I need to click on a subnet associations. And if I come down, as you can see, no subnets are associated, but we want to associate. So which one belongs to marketing as per our topology? 10.0.1.0, this one. Okay, so I need to associate. Click edit subnet association, and this is the marketing one. So click, select this one and save association. If I'll click again on routing table, and if I will just come down and select marketing routing table, this time if I will do subnet associations, you can see before it was saying there is no subnet associated, but now I have associated marketing subnets with the marketing routing table 10.0.1.0. For finance RT, you can see still it is not associated. Click on subnet association. As you can see, no subnet associated. So click on edit subnet association, and we have to select finance subnet and associate that subnet with a finance. So click on finance and subnet associations, and as you can see 10.0.2.0 has been associated with finance routing table. So far so good. So we have achieved what task? First we created VPC. Okay, then I created two subnets, marketing and finance, and I put this IP scheme under marketing department and this IP scheme under finance department. After that, I created two routing tables. One is marketing routing table and another one is finance routing table. Then I associated this subnet with this marketing routing table and this subnet with finance routing table. Okay. But right now, I mean, so far I have not attached internet gateway with any of the routing table, but our goal is to attach this internet gateway to the marketing routing table. So marketing subnets, or the people or the users, devices, who whatever those are in availability zone of marketing, will be able to reach internet. So let's go back to our lab. After that, I need to create the internet gateways. So how to verify that internet gateway is attached with my routing table or no? What you can do, you can click or select marketing routing table and click routes. Currently it is just showing 10.0.0/16, which is the IP Cider Block for our VPC. So this is the main routing table, but there is no default route yet, which I'm going to create. So click on internet gateways and create internet gateway. The name I'm going to put is JSS gateway, and create internet gateway. After that, I'm going to leave one part for you, so just to make you sure that the things are working fine. So one part I just missed, which I'm going to cover later. So come here on a marketing routing table, click on the routes. After that, I need to edit routes because we are going to add a default route or internet gateway we are going to attach with our this marketing router. So click on edit routes, click on add route, and this is going to be a default route. After that, I need to select internet gateway, and you can see no result found. What is the reason? The reason is we haven't attached that internet gateway with our VPC yet. So we need to go to the internet gateway. So this is what I was saying, that I missed one part. So this is the part that I'm going to cover in internet gateway section. As you can see clearly, it is detached. It means this internet gateway is doing nothing, and we haven't attached this internet gateway with our main VPC. So first we need to attach this internet gateway with our main VPC just by clicking on actions and attach to VPC. And you remember we have one JSS VPC that we created and attached internet gateway to the VPC. And when I will come to the internet gateway, and now this is attached. Okay, now I need to go to the routing table, select marketing routing table, click on the routes, click on the edit routes, add routes, and the default address, and then select internet gateway this time. And now you can see our internet gateway ID is popped up. So it means now the internet gateway is attached to my VPC, and now I can use this internet gateway. So click on JSS gateway and save settings. Okay, so that's it. We have achieved our goals. Again, I'm going to revise. First, we created the main VPC with the IP Cider Block 10.0.0.0/16. Then we created two subnets with 10.0.1.0 in a marketing availability zone under EU West 1A, and second one is 10.0.2.0/24 with the name finance inside second availability zone EU West 1B. After that, I created two routing tables, one for marketing routing table and another one for finance routing table. For the marketing routing table, then I attach this subnet 10.0.1.0 to marketing routing table and 10.0.2.0 to finance routing table. Okay. Then we decided that marketing people should have internet access. Then I created one internet gateway which I attached to the VPC. After attaching VPC, when I went to the marketing routing table under routes, I added that internet gateway to my marketing routing table specifically, but not with the finance RT. So let's verify. After that, we need to go into the routing table. As we said, for marketing people, we should have internet access reachability. If you click on the routes, as you can see, this is our local route 10.0.0.0/16 and it is active. Another one is default gateway, okay, for which I attach my internet gateway. So this is active as well. But if I will show you for the finance routing table, just deselect one and click on finance routing table and routes and click on routes. Here you are going to see only local route, which is 10.0.0.0/16. There is no default route. So it means my marketing department people or devices could reach the internet, but finance will not have access. Another thing, subnet association. So let's verify how to check subnet association. So click on subnet associations So it is attached with 10.0.1.0 as per our diagram, and for finance RT under subnet associations, I have 10.0.2.0, 10.0.2.0 with a finance RT. Okay. So with that, our VPC lab ends here. In the next lab, I'm going to create two EC2 instances of Windows Server. One is going to be here. So I'm going to create one EC2 instance here in this marketing department, another one in a finance department, and we'll see the behavior, whether this instance has internet reachability or no, and this instance can reach to the internet or no. Okay, so with that we are going to cover our EC2 lab as well, but that is going to be our next lab. So for the VPC lab, I'm going to end this session here. I hope this has been informative to you, and I am going to see you in a next lab.